Yeah.
FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and as the NFL regular season wraps up, there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed just by placing a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And the best part about FanDuel is it's simple to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, including live same-game parlays. You can build parlays in the new Parlay Hub. You can find bets in the Explorer tab and so much more. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And shout out to Legend 10 Villain for this winning ticket.
Ooh.
On Tuesday night, Legend 10 Villain put $2.50 on the exact score of the Clippers-Lakers game, 127-116.
What? I didn't even know you could do that.
$2.50 into $902.50.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
360-1 odds on the exact score.
Wow.
In the Clippers-Lakers game. The Clippers won 127-116.
I'm
Legend
surprised
10
it wasn't
Villain
even a bigger
put it
long
in.
shot than 350 to 1.
You could corner that market, though. There's a way that you could just hedge that bet.
But
That's crazy. I mean, that's a great bet. Great
possible score
win.
between 120 to 119.
Yeah.
120. It would still cost you money, but I bet you could.
Yeah.
It feels like you would end up making
Interesting.
money in
Maybe.
that.
Send me that formula, Jay.
I'm going to work
right.
on it tonight.
Yeah,
Stop
stop playing with me. And
Crazy
look,
win.
This is not going to be on the FanDuel pick'em by us. This is just
That is
underneath.
nuts.
Just-
I
Good
want
for
to look
him.
at that. I'll see
$2.50.
what the
Yeah,
combinations
yeah.
are. If there's 100 combinations at, what was his bet?
$250 to win $902.
He won 902, but how much did he bet?
$250.
Okay, so
100 times two is what, 400 bucks?
Yes, but at 250, you could still make.
$500 if you bet 200.
I'm going to get into this because I love numbers, and I think you could. That might be a backdoor to cornering bets.
Well, but the score could end up 98, 96.
Well, here's the variable.
Yeah.
It could also end up in the 80s, 70s.
It could.
There's a million possibilities.
What you would have to do is look at what the average. What I would do, I would look at the average points scored for both teams.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I would go plus or minus 10 on either way and corner everything in between.
Yeah.
You've
Well, if you
got
have
a
the
pretty
time to
good
do
chance of
that,
hitting
good for you. If you win it, send us the bets.
I'm going to look into it, guys.
Look,
I appreciate it.
I got
and then
the
I'll
bag.
make 10 practice bets,
I got the bag.
and I'll see how many I
Similar
win.
to that? Well, no, it'll
Go ahead, Mike.
go.
The
I'll go off on a
NFL just
tangent.
announced its finalists for its awards. Myles Garrett, one of the 5 finalists for Defensive Player of the Year,
Who are the
alongside T.J. Watt, Micah Parsons, Max Crosby, and Deron Bland, the defensive back for the Cowboys, who had the pick-6 record this season. Kevin Stefanski, a finalist for Coach of the Year, and Joe Flacco, a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year. We'll talk about those other awards another day. Today,
Can you
I
give
wanna-
us
the
the
other
other
finalists?
finalists
Give us the
in those
finalists,
categories?
Mike.
What's funny is the NFL tweeted out some of them. They have not tweeted out the list,
They
other
did
than
that with
Mary
their
Kay
Pro Bowl
tweeting
team.
that he's one of the finalists.
Remember they didn't talk
So-
about.
Yeah, I know. It was
So
annoying.
when it comes out, I'll tell you guys, the NFL hasn't actually put
All
out the
right.
5 finalists.
Okay.
But yesterday, before we knew Myles was officially a finalist, he was named the Pro Football Writers Association Defensive Player of the Year. He's been the PFF Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, Assistant Coach of the Year, Jim Schwartz is one of the 5 finalists, alongside Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Todd Monken, and Bobby Slowick. Here's Coach of the Year: Stefanski, Shanahan, DeMeco Ryans, John Harbaugh, and Dan Campbell. And I still don't see Comeback Player of the Year, so I'll keep a lookout for
Why
that.
is Shanahan on there?
But
The 49ers are the best team in the league?
But usually it's a team that's surprisingly good.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he's going to win it.
Harbaugh's
But
on
you're
there.
allowed to make him a final. He's the best
Harbaugh-
team in the league.
Yeah.
But Bo, let me ask you this question. I want to start with you because I know
Yeah.
you are going to start us off in a direction I want this to go. Myles has been the 2 awards so far has been named PFF, Pro Football Writers Association. Is he a lock for the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year, and should he be? Because I know you have asked some questions whether or not you think he
is a
definitively
lock
should be.
because he is a lock, but he shouldn't be. Now, that's not to say Myles Garrett shouldn't win, but G talks about this all the time. Now, I think you'd argue against it in this case because it's for your guy, but you argue about narratives,
Yeah.
and I hate this. But narratives affect awards, and they shouldn't, and it drives me crazy. And there's been a narrative that Myles Garrett deserves to win the Defensive Player of the Year award.
Yeah.
I don't know that there are many, if any, facts that back that up. Most of the people, when you say, well, why should Myles Garrett win a Defensive Player of the Year? Well, he's the best. Okay, he might be the most physically talented. Did he have the best season? Give me some facts to back up his
Can I
best
give you
season.
one stat that I don't really know if I buy into it yet or not because
Yeah.
it's new, but we had a conversation on the show where I believe it was Ben Baby.
Yeah, but that was like 5 weeks
Talked
ago,
about-
and I don't. I mean, do we know that stat?
Well, it was before the Bengals game. That wasn't what week was that?
Oh yeah, it was. that
So
week.
it was later in the season.
was week
All the
18.
hay was almost in the barn.
Yeah.
And Bull, I'm not advocating for
Yeah.
the stat because I'll be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I still don't have a complete understanding of what it is, and it's not been around long enough for me to
Right.
tell if that's. Let's say QBR. Like I don't know
Yeah,
that I buy QBR, but according to Ben Baby, ESPN has developed a stat
Yeah.
that is a combo of all things defensive end, and
Right.
he said again, I don't know. Maybe you can look into this. If,
That
I don't know
Ben
if
Garrett was way ahead
that
on this
There was
one thing.
Garrett, and then a huge gap, and then everybody else. So
I
that's
just
the-
think everybody is so. It's like everybody, and this is not in this case. It's Cleveland, but it's every case every year with these awards. We decide that our guy should win, and everybody else thinks it's ludicrous if you disagree.
Yeah,
and that's
no.
stupid.
I agree with
it
that.
doesn't make any sense, and I feel like some of these writers who vote on these things, they're total sheep. Instead of doing their own work on it.
Somebody is the sexy. You always
Yeah,
hear
it's
that the
like-
sexy candidate.
Right.
I don't want to
I
hear
mean,
that.
just the fact. Look at the NBA. How many MVPs did LeBron win? Has he won?
I voted for him every year.
How many has he won?
And you know what?
Four.
You got it right most
4.
years.
I voted for him every
Okay,
year.
But
how ludicrous! Kobe Bryant won 1 MVP.
I know.
He's got less than Steve Nash. Steve Nash was a hell of a player. Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, not the same
And
ballpark.
the crazy
Right.
part about it is you don't want to hear it. Kobe Bryant had to die before he got props. When Eagle
well,
College,
I mean, we all knew he was great, but he did get greater in depth. That always happens.
Yeah,
he
true.
still was getting. He would do interviews and he was still getting Eagle Colorado comments. Like, hey, like I had to
And
ask
then suddenly
you.
when he died and people brought that up, they're like, how
Whoa,
dare
whoa,
you
whoa,
bring that
whoa.
up? It's great.
Yeah.
Like you gotta. These are almost. I think these are lifetime and popularity contests amongst good.
I hate
players.
it. And writers allow their listen. I've been thinking about this because I've been thinking about it with the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yes, thank you. He's changing over. Come on, Bull.
I've
on.
already been a vote for steroid guys. I just think their standards have to be higher. But I find Curt Schilling to be one of the most deplorable, disgusting, despicable human beings in the public.
that's not a
But I
criteria.
would vote for him for the Hall of Fame.
You're right. Yeah.
I would. Because
Ty Cobb was a miserable human
there's
being,
a lot
too.
of
He's in.
crappy people. I can't let their personalities or what I think of them
Right.
affect whether or not I think they're Hall of Famers. Or these things are stupid, and people let personal biases get out of the way. Now, listen. Sometimes you have subconscious biases. But I think you have to go in. If I had a vote for any of these things, I would think about what hey, I like the Bengals. I like the Browns. I can't let those. I have to consciously think. I can't let those get in my
Yeah.
way of making an honest
human
that
nature
point-
that they will
and it's
get
hard
in the
to
way.
do, but you got to do it, and too many guys don't.
I still catch strays
Yeah.
all the time
Yeah.
for voting for Andre Iguodala for NBA Finals MVP in 2015. People are like, how could you of all people, how could you vote for Andre Iguodala for NBA Finals MVP over LeBron when you worked for his hometown paper? I'm like, well, number one, they ain't got nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
nothing to do with it.
The Cavs didn't win.
Number two, the Cavs lost 3 games in a row
yeah.
in that finals. Number 3, if you look at the number, it doesn't matter. We're
Yeah.
getting off.
No, but you're right.
But
It's the
I
same
walked.
thing.
I walked.
You
into,
voted your conscience, and that's what everybody should
I walked
do.
into the
Yes.
Cavs locker room after that. Like the votes had just been released, and one of LeBron's people in his inner circle, I won't say which one, like saw me and screamed from across the locker room, "You've got to be effing kidding me!" I was like, "Hi."
It's amazing that they care
guys.
about such things. But
Well, first of all, win.
yeah.
Like to me, it's only happened, I think, once in the history of the NFL of the Super Bowl where the MVP was on the losing team.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, my memory tells me that's
I'm
happened.
surprised that's
one
happened
time.
at all.
I
I'm
think
like-
it happened one time. Was it Ed Too Tall Jones or? It seems to me that now remember when you vote for that and you've done that. 'cause
Chuck
you've been-
Howley.
What's that?
Chuck Howley.
Yeah, you're right. Chuck Howley.
Forever ago.
Ah, yeah.
But it's and now it doesn't stand out, right? But it's happened once. To
Same
me,
thing in the NBA. Jerry Lucas one time.
yes.
On the
now,
losing
now
team.
sometimes because of when the time frame is, we don't know who's going to win. Oftentimes that's the case. Think of all the Super Bowls that have been decided in the last 5 minutes. I think
Yeah.
I think at the Super Bowl it's 5 minutes. I could be wrong on that. But I just remember times where I was putting my pencil to that and my hand was shaking.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know who let's get 60 minutes in, and then I'll tell you who the MVP is.
I mean,
So in that case, like, win the championship series, and then you can make an argument for it. But Bull, your point is 1,000% valid. And to answer the ultimate question here, and this may be controversial, Myles Garrett does not deserve the defensive player of the year.
The more I think about it, I agree. I was just going to say, he didn't play well at the end of the year.
And Bull, what's the most important stretch of any season?
The end of the season. That's it.
And it's not just this year. We've shown with a graphic that we have that Myles Garrett is a absolute first ballot lock Hall of Famer in the first quarter of the season. He is a Hall of Famer in the second quarter of the season. In the third quarter of the season, he's probably going to wait a couple years to get in. And on the fourth quarter of the season, for a career, you're going to scratch your head and say maybe he's not a Hall of Famer.
No.
To me, the most important, that's why my knock on Myles has always been this. I don't see the splash plays in the biggest moments of games. Now,
not consistently enough.
He's done it.
Yeah.
But to me, when I think of Aaron Donald, okay, now he might go down as the greatest ever. But when I think of Aaron Donald, I will always and forever think of how he won a Super Bowl for a team. He literally won the Super Bowl because the two biggest plays in that game, and those numbers are they're jaw-dropping. He made two back-to-back plays in the biggest game of his career that sealed the deal for his team. And both of those plays were incredible human athletic achievements. Myles is capable of that. We've seen that throughout his career. I need to see that in December. I needed to see that in Houston. I needed to see that the last 6 weeks of the season. And I know he was hurt, but I just can't vote for him this year.
One of the things that we got to take into consideration is this. When you start off the regular season, and the premise that we talk about is, if you don't want to say Myles Garrett is the most double teamed, there's years he is by far, there's years he may be second. At the end of the day, when you talk about attention on the football field, Myles Garrett demands the most attention on the football field. They've proven it statistically. You can see it in chips and things.
Was he the most double teamed this year, though?
I thought it was.
I don't think he was.
But
Him and Micah Parsons were way ahead of him.
I said, he may not.
He's always up there.
He's always in the top three, right? There's some seasons is a little closer to the other. But here's the thing. When you deal with that amount as a defensive end plan, when you deal with that amount of people touching your body at one point in time, when you got a chip from here, and you got a chip from here, and they sliding your way, that takes a lot out of you. The energy level that you got to think these guys is 330, 340 pounds. You seeing most of them. And while you engage, the tight end is hitting you, and the running back is going your way. So that takes a lot out of you. Your body is getting knocked and dinged, and so you might start off in the beginning of the season,
right,
where you're starting off like a game buster, but that takes a toll on you. It's like the LeBron minutes. Like, do you want LeBron playing 40 minutes? Can he do it? Sure. Can Myles Garrett take triple teams all year? Sure. But it's going to have a wear and tear on his body.
But
it comes at a
the
price.
problem, G, is if you look at all the other elite pass rushers,
and we were going to do that.
Their numbers are not declining as the season goes on.
Give me a player.
Well,
in terms of, you talking about double teams?
Let's go T.J. Watt. No, I think we're talking about
sacks per month.
Progression as the season goes on.
Okay, now hang on 1 second, though, before we do that.
Okay.
We sat here all year and said sacks are not the end-all, be-all to measuring this award.
And I still think they're not.
So now, because, I'm just...
But, Jay, there were games where he wasn't in the box score.
I think the Texans, he vanished in the Texans game. And that's left a sour taste in everybody's mouth.
1,000%. But he also was not a factor in the last 5 or 6 weeks.
I do think that the shoulder was much more significant than people
But you
realize.
can't, if it's who's the best, you can't get a pass for that.
Agree with that. But I'm just saying, it feels like I don't remember every single week we all sat here and said he's the defensive player of the year.
It felt that way the first 12 weeks of the year.
Yes.
But we said that up until week 15, 16 as well.
No, we were, Jason, in real time, to be fair, we were saying, what's happened to Myles Garrett? The shoulder must be a lot more serious than we thought. Because his production went from here to here.
But the conversation shifted to, well, look at the pass rush win rate. I can't even say it. Look at the double teams. It never, I just feel like and he vanished in the Houston game. Yeah. No debate. But that doesn't count in this because it's a regular season award. And it feels like if Myles had 2 sacks and a forced fumble in that Houston game, would we still be having this conversation?
Well, you know what?
I'm not
we
sure
can't
that we
erase
would.
that from our mind, and you're right, and
That's
we
fair.
should.
That's fair.
That's why really this discussion has to be had before the playoff.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any more background? Like, do you have the
Yeah,
double?
what are some of the other top pass rushers doing in January? and
Or no,
December?
before we even get to that, because I
I
want
need to know
that.
double
But what,
teams.
like double teams or
That's not as sortable player by player.
Yeah.
Like on the fly. I will say one thing in the whole conversation about should he be a lock, should he not be.
Yeah.
If you want to say he's not going to win or doesn't deserve to win, there has to be a person who does.
That's the other part of this.
And you
Yeah.
could have Myles, and it's fair to say his numbers have tailed off, and the sacks down the stretch, his pressure numbers were fine. But if it's not Myles, who? That's my question.
I can't come up with another great name.
I got to tell you, and
I'm not sure. I don't think T.J. Watt deserves
I
it
didn't
this
watch
year.
all of
Michael
Max
Parsons.
Crosby. To me, when I watched him, and again, I didn't watch every game. So if you just dropped in on 4 games from Myles Garrett, you may say, "My God, was he even playing?"
Yeah.
Or you might say, "Oh, he was the most disruptive force I've ever seen on a football field."
but his
But
team
Max
was
Crosby,
bad.
but
I
to
think that
me,
factors
Max
in.
Crosby, when I watched him,
Right.
so in their nationally exclusive windows, he was a game changer to me.
But he wasn't playing games that mattered,
And his,
and I think that factors in.
I could look at it and say, look, man, this is a award that also has to do with how well your unit did defensively. If the Browns are number 1 all year and they're carrying quarterbacks, it's very hard to say.
I don't think that should be a factor. I don't know how often it's been a factor. I don't think that should be any factor at all.
Can you be the defensive player of the year in basketball and have the worst defense in the rating in the league?
As an individual,
Can you? I'm saying,
Well, I think the comp that you're making, didn't A-Rod win MVP when the Rangers were in last place?
oh, you think you're right.
Otani just won.
Andre Dawson.
Yeah.
Otani, that's a great
Otani.
example.
But you
Andre
gotta.
Dawson
But
also won
here's the
MVP
thing:
last
you gotta overkill it. Otani overkilled everybody. It
Yeah.
was not even close. So you're like, even if he plays, his
A-Rod
team is
did
bad.
too.
He
That
overkilled it. And my thing is this: it's a lifetime achievement award. There's
But
years,
that shouldn't be either.
But watch this. I'm just saying what it is. There's years Myles Garrett had better years than this, and he was nowhere in the running at all.
But in some of those years, there was someone that had a ridiculous year.
But Mike apart, forget Max Crosby
what
because
did Max
he's a bad
Crosby?
team.
You said he didn't play meaningful games. Bull, to me, that's more impressive.
Not playing meaningful games.
Yeah, but
If you're dominating in football games where your team is like mailing it in, we've given Myles Garrett a
That's the
pass
argument I've
for
made for
December
him, yes.
because those games were meaningless. How do you get up for those?
I
Max
think-
Crosby
But
did.
I'm saying, but I'm being critical of Myles for not playing well when it mattered the most at the end of the season. So I got to say, well, Max Crosby didn't have games that mattered. There was no pressure.
still played extremely
Yes,
well.
but Myles Garrett had a lot more pressure on him.
That's what the Pro Bowl is
That's
for.
what I think.
Yeah.
I
How
would
many
say
sacks did
Michael
Crosby
Parsons
have?
because the Cowboys' defense was right there with the Browns.
They were.
being one of the best defenses in the league.
I think here's the thing. This is the funny part about it. People talk about it. I think what's the name? I forget who said this. It was coach for Denver Broncos. What's his name?
Broncos.
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton said this. He said the sacks is the most useless statistic there is. He was like, there's so many different things. Quarterbacks can fall down and you can
Well,
tackle
that's
them.
Sean Payton for you.
Sometimes
I disagree with that.
Sometimes you don't even get blocked. Sometimes, and guess what? Those count, right? It's misunderstood.
I think it doesn't tell the whole story.
Well,
I agree with
sometimes
that.
an
Certainly doesn't
interception
tell
is
the
thrown directly to you through
Right.
nothing you did.
I don't.
Those
listen,
count too.
We've already. Yes, we. It shouldn't just be about sacks, of course, but I don't think that means sacks have no value.
they have
I
value.
don't agree with that.
I just think the advanced analytics that people love, all of them point to Myles Garrett.
Well, but a lot of people here don't like analytics at all.
You got to take what you take.
I listen. If Myles Garrett wins in the end, that's fine with me. I don't really care one way or the other. I'm not passionate about it.
Do you think he will win? Because I
Yes.
do think
Oh,
he will
100%.
win.
Yeah,
I think he's going to win.
winning. He's going to win.
Look,
Because this Pro Football Writers is
Yeah.
almost, it's like when you win the Golden Globe, you win the Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a precursor, it's a great predictor,
Yeah,
and it usually pans out. And by the
Yeah.
way, I'm not going to sit here if he wins and say, oh my God,
No.
it's so egregious. I would just say that if I had a vote, I would have to really sit down and do a lot of film study.
Yeah, sure.
And even talk to folks that cover those teams to see, because I cannot forget the last 5 to 6 weeks of the season. I
Yeah,
can't.
there's no excuse for the writers that vote on this not being able to do the work. Like in baseball,
Yeah,
when
do
you
the
can't watch
research.
162 games of every team.
No.
That's impossible.
But in football,
But
you can
You
can
could
do
watch
it.
every guy that's legitimately in the mix.
Jay, just because you asked, I do have the numbers month by month for a couple other pass rushers. in
Okay.
the same
Yeah,
system.
yeah.
How do
If you wanna-
they shake
if you
out.
want to take this full, Steve, just so everyone has a comparison as we're talking. So TJ Watt, same draft class. These are Miles' numbers.
So wait, but look, okay, so the first
January throw out. How many games has he played?
Well,
in
we'll just
January?
add them together. So 57.5 the first 2 months, and then 31 the last 3
No.
months.
Well, no, don't even throw January in there because in most months, it's not a full month.
Right.
No, I
And
hear
he's
you.
probably
But
played
it's gonna be
6 games in his
No, I
career.
know,
in
but
It's the
gonna be the
first
same
2
for
months
the other
versus the
guys.
rest of the season.
Yeah.
It's the first 2 months of the year versus the rest of the year.
season.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what is that?
57 to 31, so he's about half.
Yeah, that's a
little
huge
more than
drop-off.
half, yeah.
That's,
So these are Miles' numbers. I'll read you some others, and these are just sacks. This is just purely sacks. It's
Right.
not
Yeah.
pressures, nothing. TJ Watt in September, 21 sacks.
Oh, we don't have a graphic.
October. No, I'm just reading you these. I didn't make this for everybody. So
Just
that's
give
why,
us
Steve,
September, October. Don't give all 5, Mike.
You
Give
can't
him
ask me to do-
September,
I only have two
October
hands, bro.
together.
I can't do mental math.
All
I
right.
can't talk.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I gotta
Read
give
out.
it this way.
Yeah.
September 21, October 19.5,
All right, so
November
40.
22.5, December 25.
so
He
he's
goes
got
up
more
as the
in the
season
last
ends.
half
Yeah.
of the season.
Yeah.
The last 2 months as he does the first 2 months.
Yeah, give January also, but go ahead.
He has 8.5 in January.
So he's got he's got about 25% more the last 3 months of the season, TJ
Yeah.
Watt. Garrett's got about
And
40% less.
Would you guys say that TJ is the double team comparison? I know he doesn't.
I don't know.
I know he doesn't get double teamed
I
as
don't
much.
No,
I
it's
think
like
Michael
half
Parsons
as
is the
much.
double team
Okay.
comparison.
Trey Hendrickson, same draft class.
Okay.
Not as many sacks, but he is the epitome of
He didn't play much early in his career.
He goes 14, 15, 13.5, 13.5. Almost
Pretty
dead
steady.
consistent.
Yeah.
Pretty steady.
And then January,
3.5. Same as Miles
Okay.
so
Garrett.
he's about even. He stays
Yeah.
about even.
Yep.
Khalil Mack, who's a little older than Miles,
Right.
but similar numbers. He goes 22, 25.5, 23, 29, and 2
Wow.
in January.
So
he
up
gets
a
more-
little, slightly better.
More.
Yeah.
Daniil Hunter, same age range as Miles Garrett. 20, 22.5, 20, 23.5, and then 1.5
Same.
in January.
Again,
What about Micah Parsons?
But not just saying
I'll
that
get to
up,
Parsons in
it's
a
an
sec.
increase.
Aaron Donald, who's different
This is a
position,
great-
but 17, 32, 25, 36.5.
Wow,
Way up.
36.5 in December.
September's his worst
that's-
month.
To me, guys, that's what separates all of those that are Hall of Fame great and really, really, really good from the yardstick.
And
to me, Aaron Donald is the yardstick, and he's doing it at a much better rate in the most important
And
month
he's
of
probably
the
getting
season.
double teamed even more than Myles Garrett.
No. Go to the numbers.
Myles Garrett was the number one.
He's been a
Yeah.
number one double team guy.
I thought
for
that was just
years.
ends. I thought it was just ends.
No, Look, you got to think about this, like because you can't for a center and he's over the 3 technique. Here's how you can get double. You got the tight end, you got the running back, and you got the tackle.
You're not doing guard center to double team.
You
Aaron
can do
Donald?
that, but you could get
Yeah.
doubled as a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult because he's on the outside
Yeah,
shoulder.
it's easier to chip with an end. You
Sure.
can see a lot of
because
resistance on your way to the quarterback.
the tackle has to cover the end.
Right.
So the guard is pretty much
What
by
was
himself.
just this year? Who was double teamed most? Who was and where
It
did
was
Miles?
Micah and Miles, and I'll find the exact number for you. It's on PFF.
I just wonder, was it like a huge gap between
It was
Miles?
Micah, Miles, either one or two. I don't remember who's one. Then there was a pretty big gap. to
I thought
anyone else.
Miles this
Is
year
that
was
just
2.
ends or all D linemen?
I'll sort it. And
Okay.
last one, you asked for Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
He goes 9.5, 7, 16, 6.5. But he's only played 3 seasons.
Right,
So
did
his
you give us
numbers are
TJ
way
Watt?
lower.
Again, every
I don't remember if you did.
every other player we mentioned
Went
is
up.
equal or better
In the second
Most
half.
of them better. Couple
Some were
equal.
significantly better.
I think Trey Hendrickson was about
Trey
equal, or
Hendrickson's
maybe
dead even, essentially.
dead even.
Yeah, now what was
and Miles down almost
did-
about 45%.
Did you do TJ Watt in that?
Yeah, 21, 19.5, 22.5, 25, 8.5.
Okay,
Yeah.
it went up
So
considerably.
they go up. But
It
Miles,
is
yeah,
fascinating. It's
really
wild.
is.
The numbers are
Now
wild.
and it should go up a little because you play more games in October, November, December, January than you do in September,
It
October.
shouldn't.
You do.
When you take it into context, wear and tear.
Yeah.
He's playing like 2, 3, 4 more games than other people. Not to mention, like when you talk about
Not
it,
this year. The Browns defense is getting off the field
right? They
faster
was
than
getting off
anybody.
the field this
Yeah.
year. But my thing is, and when you say the discrepancy, and you got to look at it, it's like, yes, you are going to. If you are a guy that's getting double teamed, you will wear down. Now, does it completely obfuscate you from not showing up against the Texans? No, because you had 2-3 weeks off.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can look at it and say, all right, well, look, that plays a role in it, and he's injured sometimes.
I think I'm more on Garrett's side on this, but the numbers are wild.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
wild.
if there was it's not a statistical anomaly. It's not just a little bit less.
It's not just one
It's
year.
almost production is almost cut in half.
Yes.
And that is
In that-
dramatic.
I
And we
would
can't find another top rusher
yeah.
who doesn't do anything but either stay the same or go up.
I would love to know if that's the same thing with the pressures too. Like,
And
is
I'm
he-
going to do